Good morning. I'm here today to interview Aggie. She's going to tell us a bit about her business. And this is a series of interviews that I'm doing with people that I know to help them promote the business, but also to get an insight into how they do things. Aggie, I'd like you to introduce yourself to the audience, please, and tell us about your business. What do you do?
So my name is Aggie, Agnieszka Wojciechowska, the full name, but everybody calls me Aggie for obvious reasons. And I'm a founder of CFO For Growth, a company that partners with other businesses, helping them with profitability and cash flow. We provide the virtual finance director service as well as bookkeeping. This is our core service. In general, we actually could be a virtual finance team. And we focus on working with agencies, SaaS businesses, as well as service-based businesses.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so whereabouts are you based?
In Bristol, but obviously we work online, so we cater for the whole of UK. However, at the moment, I live and I work in Bristol.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to hear a bit about your journey and your experience as a business owner. So what's your how did you get to start your own business and how long have you been running?
So the company's only 1.5 years old. However, I worked as a consultant before. So my experience is about 15 years within finance management role. In the finance management department, I worked in a number of industries, but my background is predominantly from hospitality. I had a chance to work, for smaller businesses as well as big corporate businesses, where probably I spent majority of my career. This is my background. In my business, in my sort of employment journey, I was very lucky. I managed to travel. I mean, as you know, I'm from Poland, but I actually, most of my career I spent in the UK. This is where I did my master's degree, and I actually had most of my finance career here in the UK. But I also was very lucky to work in the Middle East for almost 4 years. I was in Dubai. And while being there, I had a chance to work with businesses on the side, and I joined a startup incubator to mentor businesses and help them with the finances, the operational finances, running the finance departments, as well as showing them things like forecasting and business planning. I really enjoyed that role, and basically during that time, I decided that it's time to make the move and come back to the UK and actually start a business of my own. Obviously, this happened right before the pandemic when I resigned. So, things happened. It's not something I could control. Yeah. I took a few months off when I arrived back in the UK, but then I just hit the ground running, and I decided to, go out there, look for my own clients. And slowly but surely, I'm getting there, I guess. It is obviously not, everybody knows, every business owner knows it's a real roller coaster. I always used to hear other people saying this, and now I'm experiencing it myself. But I'm just so proud of myself that finally I just had, the guts to resign from corporate employment and go out there and build something that is my own and my own legacy.
Well done. No, I congratulate you on that. It's
Thank you.
It's really important because it's so many people in a regular job, they just don't really appreciate what it's involved setting up your own business. They don't know the responsibility, and we all worry about cash flow and getting paid and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. When we've had a corporate job, we get the nice paycheck, we have holidays, we can be sick, the money comes whether we go to work or not. It's very comfortable. But when we're on our own, we can't afford to be sick, we can't afford to be ill. And most people who've never run their own business, they've got no clue about that, and they just don't understand, do they? It's always very interesting.
Yes, absolutely. It's a very different experience, very different. And even if you think, you try and predict, what it's going to be like, it's just impossible. It's just impossible.
Yeah, it really is. And I think there's another concept, I think, which I find very interesting is one of sort of delayed gratification, because I think so many people of all ages, they want whatever it is, they want it now, they want the holiday now, they want the car now. They want the iPhone now. Mm-hmm. Whereas I know if you're working, then that's fine, and people can take out loans to buy things. But I think when we create our own business, it's going to be we're in the game. It's a long-term game, and we know that we can make a lot of sacrifices with working long hours now. But in the future, the rewards will come. So we have to delay that gratification a bit.
Yes, this is a very good point. A very good point. I mean, a lot of businesses statistically, they don't survive the first year or 3 years or even 5 years. Therefore, for quite a bit of time, it is a lot of uncertainty, and we do need to, like you said, we do need to manage our budget very well, because probably we are not paid as well as we were in our corporate job. However, it is a long-term game, and in the end, it pays off.
But I think in the profession that you're in yourself, Aggie, it's in terms of like the financial forecasting and the planning, you're probably in a better position than most people to be able to do that.
Well, I try my best, but sometimes it's really interesting because, to get the insight into your own business, it's very different than when you're working with someone else. And, sometimes I do also work with coaches and people who are helping me out with this.
Yeah.
People basically, I did team up, and I'm in a mastermind with other accountants or OFDs who, who are just much farther along in that journey. And I think it's something that absolutely, I would say that I actually owe, where I am at the moment, I owe to them, because people just shared their advice and their experiences on everything.
Yes.
And I would absolutely recommend to always be a part of some kind of membership with other or mastermind with other business owners. I think it's just something that really had a massive impact on my business and where I am at the moment.
That's really interesting. It's very interesting, because I think all business owners, almost regardless of whatever business we do, there's going to be a certain common ground that we all face, but obviously specialist businesses will face different challenges. And I think in life, it's always, they say that we're surrounded by the people who make us successful. And if we're with people that are kind of a step up from us, then we can learn from them. If we're with people that are below us, then they're nice friendships maybe, but we're not going to learn very much from them. They'll learn from us. So it's good to have people that are ahead of us so that we can ask questions and they can kind of pull us up the ladder, hopefully.
Yes, absolutely. And it's important to get in touch and be in contact with people who run businesses. I think from my experience, at least in my environment, I don't have many friends who run their own businesses. And because of that as well, that support, and sometimes even, I know it might be harsh to say, but the understanding, they don't really understand the position, the situation you're in. When I'm almost obsessed about my clients and think about all the time and about them and how I can help them, what I can do better, to serve them, and when I partner with them. And actually I think the best people to speak to are other business owners, not necessarily people within your nearest circle of friends as well.
No, I think that's really important, because it brings in new ideas. And I think, like so many of us, we can be so immersed in our own business that we don't see the wood for the trees. Excuse me. And it's good to have like an outside point of view, because people can kind of bring in a fresh perspective, and by not having the prejudice of knowing about all your business inside out, they can just throw in. They might seem like crazy ideas, but sometimes a light bulb will go off and think, do you know what? Wow, I hadn't thought of that. Great idea. Yeah, so I think those insights are really valuable, and I love it. And I read a lot of books, and there's one guy, I think it's Malcolm Gladwell or something, and he was saying there are certain companies where they'll purposely bring on new staff that have got no experience in the domain whatsoever, because they bring a completely fresh perspective, and they'll just ask them. They might ask some stupid questions because they don't understand enough. But but sometimes those questions are real eye openers, and people listen carefully. And think, wow, we hadn't even thought of that. It's such an obvious thing to ask, but you can't see the wood for the trees.
This is true. And, today it's interesting. I had a call with my clients today, and we were looking at his pricing and basically pricing a quote, a really big project that he's got coming. And that's exactly the same. I was asking him series of questions and working through a template or worksheet that I have. And that was one of his main takeouts. It's just a lot of things that he just didn't think himself before when he was, putting together quotes. And there's really a lot of, things to consider, and, an outside input can be sometimes invaluable.
Absolutely. So what secrets do you have that you can share? Something interesting about you that nobody else knows that you would love to hear?
Paul, this is a tough one for me, because I think I'm an open book, but something interesting, maybe not a secret, but not everybody maybe knows that once I attempted to do a trip to the Mount Everest base camp. I always like to tell this story. So I like trekking, or I used to do quite a bit of trekking, and I decided for my 30th birthday to go and do trekking in the Himalayas. One of the most amazing things you can do, and obviously it was a great experience. But really, another thing from that was that a local newspaper wrote about me, saying that because I was raising also for a charity. I raised a small amount at the time for a charity. It was back in Cardiff when I lived in Cardiff, and the local newspaper wrote an article about me, saying that I conquered Mount Everest, but I really did not. Okay, I only went. This is a trek that is available. It's a commercial trek available for practically almost anyone. Obviously, you do get to a certain really high level. You see the high mountains. It's amazing, but it's not the Mount Everest.
Wow, that's still very impressive. I'm impressed. Yes. Sure, that's amazing. It's having seen lots of movies about Mount Everest and read quite a few books, I'm very impressed. I kind of I respect that very much. It's a challenging place to be, I'm sure.
Yes, it is though. It's an amazing adventure though. I would recommend to anyone.
So did that trip, were there any kind of qualities or values that it taught about yourself that you really had a bit of self-reflection that you thought, you know, you're in a situation that may be more challenging than everyday life where you really kind of emerge with some kind of enlightening thoughts?
You know, the trip really taught me quite a bit. I mean, mostly, I think humility. You know, I got an altitude sickness when I was very close to the actual base camp. So the base camp is a place where people start, the professionals start the trek and the climb, really. So this is where you can't really get to the base camp. You just get to a certain place that it's, you know, with a base camp sign, because it's not allowed for anyone just to go into the base camp where the professionals staying. But when I was very close to, I think about 2 hours away, when I got altitude sickness and I just couldn't continue because it's just not allowed if you're going with a tour guide, and it's a condition that is very difficult to hide. Yeah. So I had to come back. So, you know, I think the thing is that I had to really learn to appreciate that experience a lot, even though I did have what myself consider a small failure, because I did not actually get to the stone. I only got 2 hours. I was about 2 hours away from it. So I guess this is something, it's not an enlightening thought, but I guess it's something that, you know, it's really important to understand that sometimes it might not be exactly, you know, we might not get 100% there, but, you know, I got 90, probably 8% there. And the most important thing, I guess, is to never give up and just obviously make sure that, you know, I did not want to give up on trekking, something that I loved, you know, because of that experience. You know, you just have to get back out there.
No, I think it's really exciting. I've read a lot about altitude sickness, and yeah, people train really hard for a long time because the air's thinner and all the rest of it. It's, yes. I can't imagine how difficult that is, because I'm kind of a little bit out of shape. So it's I'm great admiration of you. That's very impressive.
Thank you.
So Aggie, what interests do you have outside of work, if you have time outside of work?
You know, I spend probably, if I'm not working, yes, I do work a lot, admittedly, probably a bit too much. It's sort of a little bit in my nature, and I'm learning, you know, to really manage my time in a way that I do schedule time for time off. So obviously it's time with family and friends. But also I do spend time reading, such like you mentioned. I read a lot and educate myself a lot, predominantly business books, but not only, adventure, personal development books, and you know, spend a bit of time on Skyscanner looking for another flight, because I do like to travel. So, you know, it's always great for me to, even if it's really far ahead now, you know, especially during the pandemic, you know, spend just a bit of time on where I can go, what's out there, what are the destinations that I would like to visit. So this is probably where, you know, most of my time goes.
Okay. Any good book recommendations out of the books that you mentioned you were reading there?
You know, at the moment, I'm reading a book that I would, even though it's specifically for accountants, I would recommend to everybody. I will then maybe share a link with you. It's called Untapped, and it's a book by James Ashford. He's actually a coach for accountants, and then a gentleman who founded Go Proposal, which is a pricing system for accountants. However, this book is so relevant for any business owner, and it basically talks about how you can increase your income and revenue from existing clients, how to approach them, serve them, how to do the pricing, and a lot of it is mindset as well, and working on your mindset as a business owner. And I would really recommend it. Just something I'm reading at the moment. I haven't finished yet, but it's an awesome book.
Untapped. I'll take a look myself, because
Untapped, yes. So it's very new. It only came out a few weeks ago, and I think because I'm in his membership and a client of Go Proposals, we're sort of, I think we had like a first look, but now it's available to anyone, and I really strongly recommend it because of that, especially of that, you know, the mindset piece that comes to, you know, pricing, because he combines both. He's an accountant himself, so he talks a lot about the you know, the technical bits, but then the mindset, the confidence, it's just so crucial, and he explains that a lot.
No, I'm interested. I'm going to take a look. I'll probably I'll probably Amazon and see if I can have because you probably know on Amazon you can have a quick look inside some of the books.
Yes, you can. It's great. That's true.
I should take a look. Thank you. So I know you've covered a little bit about this, but perhaps you could tell us a bit more about your business and the types of people that you help and who you work with.
Well, the predominantly the clients that come to me and work with me are, they want to grow their business. This is the main thing. They want to grow or even scale their business, and they want to work with someone who, he's, I guess, a professional in terms of the finance capacity. And it's not only about, we are not really all about annual accounts or tax plan even. It's not our specialty. Our specialty is working with businesses on business planning, on planning for the profitability, cash flow, things like, I mentioned already pricing. We do a lot of work around that. The potential, working really on potential that the business can achieve. We're working on budgeting, forecasting, and building a business roadmap. So these are the most important things that we work on and achieve for our customers. Like I mentioned, we do concentrate on working with service-based businesses. We specialize in this. A lot of our clients are agencies, marketing agencies, now SaaS customers as well, or marketing agencies building a SaaS product. It seems to be a big trend now. I think it's an area with a lot of potential. So this is where our clients they choose. This is the path they choose, and we're helping them out and helping them build the business, create the targets, achieve the targets, and ultimately as well, another part of our business is to help them get rid of the financial admin. We are all about working in the cloud, automation. And I think I hear a lot of complaints where business owners, the CEOs, they say, how is it that I'm still involved in certain, finance admin or certain processes? How is it that I'm involved and I feel like I'm spending so much time on it? And obviously that's another part that we can then take away from them. So for a little bit of peace of mind, I guess, and how they can, helping them manage their time and spending their time on things that actually matter and things that help them grow their business. Or for example, spending time with their families on their hobbies. That's a big thing as well.
No, it's interesting. I think so many of us, when we start out, we have to do everything, the accounts, receipts, bookkeeping, all of that stuff. Yeah. And I know it's a real burden and it's very mechanical and it's quite tedious. I think in the early days, it's quite good to get it because it makes you very aware of your numbers. When you're booking stuff into a spreadsheet, you really know, you don't have to look things up because you just know last week I spent this much on. And I think that's quite good to go through that experience. But the downside of a lot of things is, you can get quite involved with it, and it's quite hard to let go. And then, I'm not sure if delegation is the right word, but hand that responsibility over to somebody else. You feel very attached to it, but it's so important because the experts can do things far quicker and more efficiently than we can, and we can focus on other parts of our business. But when money's tight, when we're starting out, it's kind of, it's tempting to do everything because it's our time, so it's not costing us any external money. But sometimes it can be more expensive because an hour of spending doing bookkeeping could be an hour doing business development that leads to a good customer. Absolutely,
yes.
But it's hard.
And a great book I can recommend for this is the 80-20 Sales and Marketing.
Now that rings a bell. I think
I don't know if you've ever heard of it. I'm sorry, I forgot the name of the author at the moment, but I absolutely understand what you mean because it's exactly the same with many areas. Because I know it's for people hard to imagine, but I don't do my own bookkeeping anymore, right? My team do. So obviously I'm not that, I have to also every month look at the reports to realize and find out where I am financially. I don't do it myself anymore either. So in a way I outsource that part.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's very difficult because it's about, especially for people like I might be a little bit of a control freak, I guess. So I want to see everything and get involved in everything. But you need to learn to let that go a little bit. And this is a great book that shows you maybe a certain framework on how to do it.
Interesting. That's I think because I've read a lot about sort of a lot of the tasks that we do in our business. Sometimes they're not business specific, like for me, bookkeeping, accounting, but there are other peripheral tasks. And I think it's been recognized that because we're all perfectionists and we're control freaks, and we're obsessed, we want it right. I think it's said that, if you can get someone who does it 80% as well as you do, you're doing well. But
yes.
That's quite uncomfortable. Well, I want it 100% as good. I don't want something 80% as good. But that's, if we don't let go of that, we're never going to climb the ladder. We're going to be held back, aren't we? If we don't sort of just let go of that.
Exactly.
It's a journey many people, millions of successful people have been on, and but it's just, it can be just a simple decision. Say, right, okay, I'm just going to let go. But you've got all those emotional strings pulling it. Well, I wonder how to get on, and what's, it's just part of evolution of our business, isn't it? I suppose.
Exactly. Plus, yeah.
Plus,
we often go into the areas or focus on the areas that are comfortable for us, I think. So for example, for me, if sales is not comfortable, it's just something that is out of my comfort zone. This is what I mean. I will just naturally, go into every day into tasks that I just feel comfortable, and maybe doing admin work sometimes is just much better for us than promoting our business. And I think this is a problem that a lot of people have, right? Instead of working on business development, sales, PR, webinars, being a guest on podcasts, for example, things like that, it takes people out of their comfort zone quite a bit. So we naturally go into each morning, and I do that myself. For me, doing my client work is probably the way how I do really enjoy spending my time. But is this good for my business? No.
I'll tell you what, Aggie, that's a real important point you've made there, because as you're speaking, I'm thinking about my own experience, and I know that there are things that the logical me knows that I should be focusing on, but the emotional me kind of, I need to attend to this, and I need to attend to this, and that needs doing, and I justify them to myself, but actually, if I'm brutally and mercenary, they are distracting me from what I should be doing. And I can stand back and I can recognize this. I'm trying to be kind to myself, but I recognize, Paul, this is what you should be doing. All right, these tasks, they need to be attended to, but you keep attending to them and you're not ever attending to this. And it's the danger that I think a lot of people get caught up in the operational stuff and the things that they enjoy and shy away from the stuff that's going to actually bring the business in.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of people are very guilty of that. I've been on a few forums where, in different words, that's a common scenario, I think,
Exactly.
Very common. Because I think, no matter how good we are at what we do, you could be the best at anything, but if you can't find the customers, what's the point?
Exactly. What's the point? I mean, the priority is sales, and it's maybe not very common to from finance people, they say, priority is the finance, but no, actually priority is the sales. Sales come first, and then obviously managing all that sales, the revenue that comes in, that's another, it's really also equally important, but really it all starts with sales.
Money in the bank, that's what we all
money in the bank is absolutely what we all want.
It's what pays the staff, pays for their bills and all the rest of it.
Yes, and this is also, we all working towards, building something and financial freedom and so on, right? But it really, ultimately, it's sales which will then
absolutely
take us there.
So what would you say are the biggest challenges that business owners face in your area of work? What would you say the biggest challenges are?
I mean, there's a few things that probably they come to me with and complain about. Firstly, it's about we mentioned cash flow challenges and the whole idea of cash flow fluctuations and peak and troughs. I think each business, goes through the time where suddenly, they have a lot of customers and this business coming in and so on. And then obviously another month may be really quiet and they might not sign a client or customer for 3 or 4 months period, for example. So this is something that a lot of them find challenging to manage, and how to manage that. Another thing is that I think a lot of business owners, they fear, that they live in a constant fear of running out of cash. Okay, so and even if the business is doing well, somewhere always at the back of the mind, I wonder if in 2 months or 3 months, will they be able to pay their team? Will they be able to pay their bills? Have enough to support their family and so on. So probably this is quite. I understand this. It's something that we're all dealing with, and I hear a lot of that. And obviously, throughout the pandemic period, that was even more. And similarly now, right? Because obviously we are in a period with increasing costs, for example. So that's all still again on people's mind quite a bit. And I think another thing as well is the cash versus profit. So I still see that quite a bit, where business owners come to me and say, like, I made a profit, and how is it that I have no cash in the bank, or very little, or more than I thought? So that's another aspect that they're often struggling with, and basically a way maybe of understanding how this works. And this is what they would be asking about, and maybe it's what their biggest pains are.
That's interesting, because like we're saying, I read a lot of books, and I listen to a lot of books on Audible. And I listened to the biography about Elon Musk, which is very interesting. And at one point, he was down to his last million, which sounds like a lot of money for some people, but in the context,
not for him, yeah.
Well, in the context of what he was doing at the time, he had
exactly, yeah.
That would a lot. I think that was like a week's cash flow for the staff and all the expenses. It was nothing. So he went right down to the line, but he got some venture capital funding, right up to the line, and obviously that just all changed from there on in. But it's something that I can relate to. You see the bank balance going down and down and down, and there's nothing happening, but then the universe delivers and something comes out of the blue unexpectedly, or something from the past that you weren't expecting, and everything's okay again. But it's so how would you best advise people to deal with those kinds of challenges then?
I mean, there is a few things that always everybody can take and to do, and they are not necessarily very complicated, but something that helps them take the control over that. And one of them that I recommend is to have cash flow forecast. Obviously, I'm sure you understand this, because of the problem of business owners running their business out of just looking at the bank balance, in their bank at this moment. But cash flow forecast, it will give a good indication of what that balance can be within 90 days, for example, in 90 days. And it's about maybe just having something simple on paper, spreadsheet, and something that will allow you to plan for certain scenarios where you can input, what happens if that much money comes in, what happens if this client is 30 days late. I ran through the exercise like this with actually practically every of my clients, and they really appreciate it. So every month, even when we meet and run through that exercise, they can see, where they will be, or what's the worst that can happen, what's the best, obviously, what would happen as well. And another thing is that obviously with any cash flow issues, something that can help you and help you with getting some of that peace of mind is building a cash cushion. This is what I can building an emergency fund is something that I can recommend to any business owner too, because in the end, even if you say, oh, I don't have really enough to put some money aside at the moment, you need to plan, and even if it's little by little, you will be able to eventually build something, build that fund, the rainy days, or even this could be a fund that could be used for an opportunity, because that's another way of looking at it, right? What if something comes along and maybe you need a little bit of money to invest, and having 3 months worth of your expenses in the bank account can really help and give that peace of mind that we are all looking for, to be able to then again concentrate on our clients, growing the business. And it takes us out of this panic mode. Yeah,
because that's very stressful and that's very distracting, because I think again, I reflect on my own experience, and I think we all I think all of us work at our best when we're relaxed, and we feel at peace with ourselves, and we can focus on the work and concentrate on what we're doing. But if we're stressed and we're worried about paying the bills, the subconscious is constantly nagging at us. And you can't get to that really nice relaxed state of flow where you can really concentrate on the actual work that you're doing. So it's nice to have that security that, okay, well, you've got plenty of money there, I can relax, all the bills will be paid. So yeah, it's a good feeling. It's a really good idea. Makes good sense.
Yes, I absolutely recommend it.
It's just getting there, isn't it? I suppose for people that start.
It is. Yes. But again, it's planning for it. I think it's like it's setting this up as one of your goals, one of your targets, and then building maybe a simple plan on how this can be achieved, and then it can be achieved.
Yes, it's plan. I think it's the old saying is that if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. That kind of thing. You may not always achieve what you're aiming for, but you've got to have something to aim for. Otherwise, you're just running blind, aren't you, really? Exactly. Okay, so finally, Aggie, so thanks for the interview today. I really appreciate it. It's been some really interesting feedback from you here. But how will people be able to get in touch with you? What's the best way?
The best way to get in touch with me is via LinkedIn, Agnieszka Wojciechowska, and I will obviously have the links available for you, Paul, to put on the page.
Sure. Yep.
Also on Facebook as well. On Facebook, I'm as Aggie Wojciechowska, so that people can find me a bit more easily. Also, always a great idea is to check out my website, CFOforgrowth.com.
Fantastic. That's been brilliant. Well, Aggie, thank you very much for your time. It's been really insightful.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. I've learned a few tips myself there, so thank you for those as well. I hope the audience appreciate this, and I look forward to speaking to you again in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks. It's been great, Paul. Thank you.
Thank you.